Welcome to the Money Matters Empower Her podcast, where we're redefining what financial independence looks like for women. I'm your host, Donna Cates, and each week we'll dive into powerful stories, expert strategies, and practical tools to help you take charge of your financial future. The women sharing their journeys here aren't just telling stories, they're change makers. Their experiences, strategies, and financial outlooks carry real power to inspire transformation in your own life. Whether you're planning for retirement, navigating a divorce, or simply looking to build your wealth with confidence, this is your space to grow, learn, and thrive. Let's get started with today's episode. Welcome. I'm Donna Cates, the host of Money Matters Empower Her podcast. And today I'm honored to be joined by someone who is doing extraordinary work in the world. Priyanka, I know I'm going to still butcher her last name, although we just practiced it. Venkaraman.
Venkaraman, yes.
Venkaraman. I'm so sorry. I knew,
No
and I
worries.
practiced, didn't I? Okay, but anyway, we're fabulously pleased to have her with us today. She is the founder of Wayfinding Moms, and Brianka is a board certified OBGYN who made a courageous pivot after years of serving women in traditional medicine. And what she stepped into next is life and parent coaching for mothers navigating burnout, identity shifts, and just emotional overload. And this has become sacred transformational work for families and future generations, I'm sure. But today she supports women in healing from the inside out, in remembering who they are beneath all the roles that they carry, and in rewriting generational patterns with intention and presence. So I hope that clearly articulates who you are from my perspective, but welcome, and I'm so grateful that you're here. Let's start with the heart of it all. If you would take about 90 seconds and tell us what you do in your words, and more importantly, why you do it. What's the mission behind your work?
Honestly, my son has been my why always. I'll start there. And everything I have done, including working as a physician, my idea was always to serve others the way I wish I was served myself. And I started there as a physician. And when I took a pause because I needed to for my kid and we ran out of childcare for him, I landed up really doing the work on myself so I could show up better for him. It was always about my personal growth, my ability to show up better for him, be the version, the role model that I want him to see so he can grow up having a supportive, safe background and having a good role model as to how to be as a person. And that required a lot of internal work, which brought me to life coaching, which made me do a deeper dive in it to become a Wayfinder life coach to find my own way. And then I hired my own parent coach. My first parent coach was for me to be a better parent for my kid. I didn't want to just wing it. I pivoted my career. I put my career on pause for him, for my child. And winging it just didn't feel right. It meant I really go in all the way. And that's where parent coaching showed me the way on how I could show up for him, role model for him the way I want to be. And it's always, again, been a personal growth journey where I said, okay, this is really good. This has amazingly transformed our lives. I'm going to do a deeper dive in this because I really want to show up better for him. And it was always about us, my family first. And then I realized when I'm practicing as a physician, I am helping grow families. I am supporting moms in a different way. And with my now certifications with parent coaching and Wayfinder coaching training, I could truly help these growing families transform. And that just feels like a more sacred journey and a more of a calling and an intentional pivot for me towards something that could really transform the way our future could look. Because if we have these kids who are grown up in a safe social environment, in a supportive space where they get to really grow emotionally and become emotionally resilient and strong, they could be our future leaders who lead with safety, with love, with compassion, instead of where I feel like the current environment is just surrounded by, fear and division, and it could truly change the trajectory of where we're headed. And this feels like a true calling to be a little drop in the pond with hopefully a ripple effect. And I'll start with my family and just hopefully one family at a time, make a little dent along the way.
Wow. There's so much to unpack from what you just shared with us. So the first thing that I want to point out is that you saw a need in your own life to do something different. So you've got a successful career, but you said,
Mhm.
something's not working right. I'm going to take a pause and figure out what I need to do. So kudos to you for that, because a lot of times we just feel like we got to bulldoze our way through everything and just power up, right? So that's a big win for you. And then the other thing that I found, very interesting, and hope that our listeners hear, is that you didn't go out and try to fix anything else. You're literally working on yourself first. And how
Absolutely.
empowering is that? And it's just kind of, I mean, kind of like, when they say you put your oxygen mask on first and then help your child. I mean, we hear that and it makes common sense, but a lot of times we don't do that in real life. So, yay, you. That sounds awesome. So we know that there was the big shift there that created that opportunity for you. But and I know, I think what I'm hearing you say right now is that, the work that you're doing right now, as beautiful it is as it is, it's not really about the parenting. It's about helping women remember who they are. And I would love to know what's one of the biggest lessons your own healing journey has taught you, and how that shaped the way you show up today as a leader, a mother, a business owner, all of the things.
Yeah. So I completely hear you on that, and I appreciate you bringing that up. That I had these blinders on, that we're just supposed to go down this one path, that we're supposed to go just this one way, and I had to pause and then reflect and then go into coaching to really recognize that the whole world's out there, that there's so many paths, that it doesn't have to be this one path. And in that pause, especially as I hired my own parent coach, recognized that because of my journey through burnout as a physician, through having a very highly complex pregnancy with disability while I was still working, being out on disability, then coming back to work in the pandemic with a kid with a lot of allergies and
Mhm.
nutrition concerns, whose weight was less than one percentile, and me being his sole nutrition provider because he had allergies to all formulas that we tried through the
Mhm.
pandemic, where I had to be his sole nutrition provider for 14 months while working full time as an OBGYN. And just so you know, full time as an OBGYN is not 40 hours a week. It never was. It never is. It can sometimes be 60 hours. It can sometimes be 90 hours, depending on
Mhm.
when the calls land, because we know babies come whenever they want to. So,
Right. Yeah.
through all of that journey, through my pregnancy and my postpartum and my kids' first few years of life, I became very anxious and very hypervigilant. And, we as a physician, as, growing up, always were taught the more we can control a situation, the better we're going to be at it. And here's where I had no control. All of this was out of my control. Everything was where I had to learn to go with the flow. And I would try and grasp for control wherever I could. Okay, nutrition. Okay, let's feed him better. Let's do this. And I started, and that affected the way I showed up everywhere, especially as a parent, where I was the hovering and the helicoptering parent.
Mhm.
Always on him, always on his nutrition, always worried about him, always, you know, keeping a close eye on him. And of course, the pandemic didn't really help there with everyone's anxieties and with all of us being kind of trapped.
Mhm.
I think he hadn't even been to a grocery store till he turned 3.
Oh,
So,
wow.
um, and through parent coaching is where I recognized that's the way I've been showing up for him. That now he's 3, he's got these meltdowns and tantrums. He's running all over the place. Anytime I let go of his hand, he bolts the other way. And it's because I've been like smothering him
Mhm.
without realizing it. And when I did the work on myself and my anxieties around him and his growth and his birth weight and his nutrition, when I recognized how much of that was showing up consciously, subconsciously, it was reflected on him. And he became more anxious and he was showing up with more overwhelm. And as I learned to take a step and pause on what was going on with me, even, the work of it is ongoing. I still have a therapist right now. I still have two coaches that I barter with. I still have a third coach I pay way more than I charge for my own services because I'm still a work in progress and I always will be. And I'm continuing to peel off the, the onion layers so that I can show up better as a leader, as a businesswoman, as a coach, and as a parent. And as I do that work, I've also learned to at least shield my child from it, to pause and not bring my issues into parenting to then affect the way he grows up. And that's where I want to break those generational patterns and allow him to flourish in his own way without me bringing my things in there. And it's a conscious, intentional work every day. Hence, conscious parenting is what I hope to empower women towards, where you can consciously decide and intentionally show up where you want to. And you can only do that when you've done the work on yourself
Mm.
and given yourself space to grow and taken the time and effort for yourself. And first, put your own oxygen mask on, as you said.
Mhm. Wow. And I think, and I don't have children myself, but I know, children are like sponges. We think they're just, kind of there doing their thing and not paying attention, but they absorb everything. So showing up with intention, I think that is crucial. And I'm sensing that, the approach of your work is blending basically science with soul because I've read that you were talking about nervous system work, mindset work, emotional healing and intuition and all of that. So tell me, how are you helping women that you serve step out of that survival mode and into a place of calm and clarity and confidence so that they can show up in the way that you're describing?
The women that I work with, a lot of them have been looking for answers. They're reading the books, they're following people on social media, they're trying to figure out the best way that they can show up for their kids. And how much ever we read, it's so hard to absorb and then make it work in the moment, especially because when we're triggered in the moment, when we're overwhelmed, when we have so much on our plates and we're just running around, we can't really truly show up and we land up using a tone that we didn't want to. We land up saying things in a different way. And as you said, our kids are sponges. They pick up on this subconsciously. Even if there's this idea of mirror neurons. If I talk really fast and really quickly and really energetically in this room right now, it would affect your energy as well. The same way our kids get affected too. And if we can show up and slow down and be there at their level, we can help them regulate themselves if they are dysregulated. And that is only possible when we do the work on ourselves, when we do the nervous system regulation of our body first, so then we can show them how to regulate their bodies because they're not developmentally at that point where they can do it themselves. They need co-regulation, which can only happen if we first regulate ourselves so we can regulate them. If we are triggered by their meltdowns, their yelling, their tantrums, which is normal, then we're just escalating it and going into the spiral where our mirror neurons are reflecting each other's and we're just going up and up and up instead of one of us, the grown up, the parent, gets to pause that cycle and hopefully shift it and then teach the kids how to regulate themselves. So my program allows for all these people who want that education to have it. It has nervous system regulation, it has attachment science, it has discipline, it has consequences. It has all of the science behind it with the resources, with all the books referenced. And then my part, which I love, is the one-on-one sessions where I get to show up for this mom wherever she is, whatever's going on with her. Whether it is, how do I not yell at my kids because I'm running out the door with two of them under 5 and we have to make it to the dentist at 8 a.m. in the morning. And I can't seem to get them to get their shoes on and out the door. And how do I show up better there? recognizing that, you know what, maybe taking deep breaths isn't going to work in that situation. Maybe it is all of us being silly and doing some jumping jacks to get us all connected, silly and laughing, while we then do a countdown to get all of our shoes on together. So finding tips and tricks for what they could use in the moment, but also recognizing that in order to show up in that moment, it probably means that single parenting the whole week before that would have made it so much harder, and recognizing that we are going to not show up always the way we wanted to. We are human, and reflecting that and sharing that with our kids is another beautiful part of then showing them that this is normal. This is us being human. You don't have to be perfect. It's okay to fail. And that can make this kid recognize that that's okay too. And that can hopefully build resilience in them as they grow up. That failure is not bad, that I don't have to be perfect, that I don't have to be like my parents who show no emotions or show no pitfalls and then try to mirror that and fail at it and then feel ashamed and blame themselves.
Mm, 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 mm. So I know in my reading of your work that you're not necessarily encouraging women to do more. There's like, it's not that we need to do more. They really need to feel worthy as they are. So tell me, how does this burnout or emotional overload, impact women's relationships with her own time, her own boundaries, and even her sense of worthiness around her family and support and money and all the things.
Yeah, the self-worth is something that we often take lightly, but it's just so important. And if we could really value ourselves in the way we show up, we can then put a pause on this inner critic that can come in and sneak in with these hurtful, shameful words that nobody else hears, but they're still here. And if we are hearing them, it's almost like anyone else saying them. And it still brings the shame and the blame that, you know, compounds the overwhelm that we're already feeling with everything around. And if we can show up for ourselves with compassion, almost show up for ourselves the way we wish to show up for our kids. When they make a mistake, we want to be the one to say, it's okay. Everyone makes mistakes. Let's get up, dust ourselves off. We got this. Instead of what we do in our minds, I can't believe you did that wrong. And that is not okay. And you're messing everything up. So if we talk to ourselves just the way we want to talk to our kids, honestly, he's been my biggest teacher on this. That I just want to, my parenting voice for myself needs to reflect the parenting voice I'm going to show to him. And in that way, I am uplifting myself and already showing up better for him in that sense. And that is where it starts. But my whole premise for wayfinding moms is we all find our own way forward. We don't have to or should do it the way others do it. There are people who can homeschool. I have realized that me and my kid would be biting our heads off if we were trying to do that at home. And recognition of that and being like, no, you know what? I'm not going to or try to fit into this mold, and I'm not going to should myself into that. And I really want to show up where I can do it. Because if I was in that situation, I'm not going to be able to show up for him. I can't, I would get frustrated. I wouldn't be the person I want to be for him. Instead, he
Mm,
goes to school and I choose the place where he gets social emotional learning at the school because I do believe that's important. And the time we do have in the evenings is still valuable, is still connected, is still quality time together. And I am able to show up better there because I'm working on my passion throughout the day instead of completely pivoting to just caring for him.
got it. Well, and that literally leads into the next question I was going to pose because I know you've talked about kind of untangling that internalized pressure to be everything to everyone. And that's a perfect example. The fact that a lot of people are homeschooling. Ooh, that means I need to do that too. Oh, wait, I don't have the skill set for it. Or the emotional, whatever. So I'd love for you to share with me when you're holding space for women and doing that coaching, how are you different from just regular therapy or a traditional coach? What are you doing differently in that process?
Being a physician, I have a different background. I've seen these women coming in every day, all their worries, all their scares. I've been one of those women with my own pregnancy and postpartum and the scares with my kid. And with my Wayfinder training, I am showing up with this idea of really allowing a person to find their own way forward, finding their own North Star, where they get to figure out what matters to them, to connect with ourselves, our intuition, our bodies, which has so much information that we tend to ignore when we stay in our minds. We're always ruminating up here, we're always listening to other people's voices. And instead, if we could just reconnect with our bodies through different tools, meditative processes, nervous system regulation, and if we could figure out and be aware of what information our body's giving us, it will tell us without words, because there are no words in that, but it will physically tell us this feels right or this feels icky and this feels not good. And that brings this or decision fatigue out of the way because your body is just telling you. There's no mind talking about pros and cons list or everything else that comes up. We're just really leaning into our intuition, really leaning into our body information that has been there a lot longer than this executive functioning brain came up even in evolution. So if we could go back to this, go back to ourselves, go back to understanding and knowing that we have all our answers. And that's the premise of my coaching. You, as a person in front of me that I'm going to be coaching, has all the answers within themselves. You are completely resourceful, you are whole, you are already everything you need. You have everything you need. You are already the person you need to be. I'm just here to walk by your side as a guide, as a support, to show you, look at all these paths you have, to take your blinders off, just like my blinders are taken off. And then you still get to decide and choose which is the right path for you and your family, and which brings you that amazing, open, loving feeling rather than this closed, trapped, icky feeling. And that's
Mm.
all I'm doing, just showing you all the ways possible. And then we figure out which one feels the right way for you. That's what I tell
Love
my
the idea
clients.
that we already have everything that we need. We just need to learn to listen. And I'm not a good listener of my body. I'll just ignore it until it just gives out. And that's doesn't serve anybody well. So I think that's a huge, thing that you're doing for people is helping them to tune in and listen, to what their body is telling them. That's significant. Well, and I know you had shared that you're literally a connector at heart, and I relate to that too. I'll let you know who you need to know, even if you haven't asked. So, but you're constantly introducing women, to each other and building community. And I think that was through the village and the what was it, the polka dot
Yes.
powerhouse is the other one. Why is
Mhm.
community such a vital part of healing? And what shifts do you see when women start trying to do life alone?
When I work with someone one on one, they always have this aspect of shame and blame and this feeling of I am isolated in my struggles. I felt that too. And when I was exposed to coaching myself, it was in a big community. And the recognition, the first thing that came up for me was we're not alone. We're all having similar struggles. We're not isolated in what we're doing. And just that, and being in community, recognizing others have similar internal talks, internal critics, similar external situations, similar struggles with our kids. It's just this freeing, opening feeling that I don't have to do this alone. Hence the village. The village is all about us recognizing that we do need a village to support us for ourselves and for our kids. And in this isolated world that we live in, with these nuclear families, we're moving away from the traditional sense of having the village where we all grow up together. And so it's even more important to find that village, to create that village wherever we are and in our spaces. And that's my hope to be a facilitator, to create such a village for like minded women, for all of us who are caregivers, who are people nurturing others and at times to the detriment of our own selves, where we're not caring for ourselves first. And that's the premise of the village for me, to really support others as well, so they can then support and ripple effect the everyone else that they are caring for around them. And
Absolutely.
we moved cross country through coaching, through everything that I've worked on myself with, to finding my own way. We moved from Massachusetts to California after being on the East Coast for 22 years. And we just got here about a year and a half ago. And it's been my journey to find my community here
Mm,
as I left my old one behind. And
mm,
that's where I found, Polka Dot Powerhouse. I created my own village. I've tried to connect moms that I've met along the way so we can all be in community first, again, for myself. Always the work has been to find what I need, and then recognition that others need this as well, and to support them through it too.
I'm so grateful that you're sharing the wisdom that you're learning for your benefit with everybody else. That's an awesome, awesome thing. So I want to close with one last question here, and I love ending with this because the answers are always so powerful. But if you could sit down to have lunch with any woman, living or no longer with us, who would it be, and what would you most want to ask of her?
I'm not a religious person, and yet the person that comes to mind is Mother Mary.
Interesting. Tell us more.
I have realized that I've this motherly energy around me, that I want to mother everyone, my patients, my kid, my, you know, clients' kids, my clients themselves. And at times, as still I'm a learning, I'm still going through my own learning of showing up for myself first. So, and at times to the detriment of my own care. So I'd ask her, how can you be mothers to so many and still, and be this amazing role model and still be there for yourself too? What are
Mm.
those tips and tricks? What do you know? What can I learn and what can I teach others too?
Awesome, awesome. Okay. And I have to tell you that I think the world works in a very mysterious way because I needed to hear your empowering words today for myself, just to remind me that, hey, I need to be more attuned to my needs versus taking care of everybody else. So I thank you for that. Well, as we wrap up, I would love for you to share with our listeners who feel inspired and want to learn more about you and the work that you do. How can they connect with you?
Absolutely. Thank you. And I'm grateful to hear that this is what you needed to hear too. I often need to hear it myself. It's a constant reminder for myself.
Mhm.
I am available at my website, which is www.wayfindingmoms.com. And if they put parenting in front of that, they hear all about my parenting packages. If they put the village in front of that, they hear about my village, which is open to everyone looking for community. And anywhere on my website, there is a direct link to my calendar to book a free call, 30 minutes, so we can figure out what you need, whether it is me or whether it is community or it is therapy, and I'll help you find what you need.
Okay,
So,
that's so awesome and so generous. So thank you so much. We appreciate you sharing your story, your wisdom, and your heart with us today. And I've really enjoyed, spending time with you. And I'm hoping that everybody that listens in to this will walk away with a renewed sense of possibility. So, for everybody that's tuning in, remember that no matter where you are in life, it's never too late to redefine success on your own terms and build a life that genuinely reflects your worth. Until next time. Thank you for tuning in to the Money Matters Empower Her podcast. I hope today's conversation left you feeling inspired, informed, and ready to take the next step in your financial journey. Remember, building wealth isn't just about money, it's about creating a life that aligns with your goals and values. If you found this episode valuable, please subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with the women in your life who deserve financial empowerment too. Until next time, stay confident, stay empowered, and keep building the life you want.